2, it is quadratic. So that's why I had to look, is A equal to 1? Unfortunately, it's not. So we got to work for it again. A is not equal to 1, so we have to do something different. We don't have 4 or more terms, right? So we're not factoring by grouping, but you're going to kind of do factoring by grouping. So here, now, there is one thing you could do to solve this. And in honors geometry and algebra 2, they actually have you just guess and check. Okay? There's actually 2 ways you can factor this. So one thing you could do, and you guys have there's a lot of really smart people in here that have really good like number sense. So a lot of people prefer to guess and check. They kind of think like, oh, it's a little puzzle, let me just try to figure it out. So that is one method that you could do that I'm going to show you how to do that. So you could guess and check. And again, this is how they're going to teach you to do it upstairs in a couple years when you get to honors or advanced algebra 2. So if you decide to do it the guess and check way, you have to think to yourself, all right, so what are the only 2 things obviously, if this is an x squared, you know that one part of the term is going to be an x and an x, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but this time there's a 2. So what are the only, and this is a pretty easy one, what are the only 2 numbers that you can multiply together to get a 2? 2 and 1, right? So one of them is going to have to...
5 and 4.
Okay, smarty pants. Whole numbers. So we know that one of them is going to have to be a 2x, and one of them is going to have to be a 1, but obviously we don't need that 1 there, right? Because it's automatically there. So I'm just going to say, all right, I'm going to put the 2x there, I'm going to put the 2x there.
What if you don't want to guess?
Then,
What if guessing this isn't our thing?
I'm going to guessing isn't my thing either, so I'm going to show you a way to do it without having to guess. But some people really like this way. Okay, this one's still pretty easy too because there's only 2 numbers you can multiply to get 5, right? So one of them's going to have to be a 5 and one of them's going to have to be a 1. Now this is where my guessing comes in. I don't know if the 5 goes here or what, right? So that's where the checking is going to have to come in. And I know that one of those has to be a positive and one of them has to be a negative because they're going to multiply together to get a negative 5. So again, I have to kind of guess, is it going to be minus? So I'm just going to say, okay, let me try to guess that. So that's how so I'm going to put in a guess, and this is how you check. So you do negative 5 times x, which is negative 5x, right? And then positive 2x times 1 is 2x. I add them together. It almost gives me the 3x in the middle that I need. Not quite. It's going to give me a negative 1 instead of a positive 1, right? So that's why my next guess, I'm going to put everything in the same spot, but I'm going to flip, and now I'm going to do plus 5 and minus 1 and see if that gets it for me, okay? And is that going to give it to me? 5 times x is 5x. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. They add together to get me that middle term of 3x. So if number sense and kind of playing a little guessing game is your jam, then this is what you want to do. Some people love doing it this way. Some people love it. Okay? So you literally just kind of have to take a random guess about where you're going to put it. Guessing and checking is especially easy if like it's prime numbers like these are. But you guys know I teach math specifically because I wasn't good at it. I had horrible teachers. I'm a really good memorizer, but I don't have good number sense. Guessing and checking threw me like over a cliff. Yes, ma'am?
Why didn't the first one work?
Because when I multiplied negative 5 times x and got negative 5x, and then positive 2x times 1, I got a negative 3x instead of the positive 3x. You needed to go in the middle. So I almost got the right thing. So that's how I knew my next guess just needed to be the signs flipped. I hate guessing and checking because I will sit there all day long trying to get the answer. So that is why I do this one. The step that what I'm going to show you, it's a lot of work, I'm not going to lie. But you always get the right answer if you do it, as long as you're a good memorizer of steps. So guessing and checking is one way. Or something called the AC method.
AC.
AC. Air conditioning, no. What do you think AC probably has to do with?
The A
and the C. Yay! That's why it's called that, okay? So step 1, multiply A and C. So in this case, I'm going to multiply 2 times negative 5, which will give me a negative 10. Then you need to make yourself a table. And you need to figure out, it's kind of similar to if A is 1, but it's a little bit different. This time, though, you have to figure out what can you multiply to get AC. So in this case, we're talking about what can I multiply to get negative 10 that I can add to get B. So it's kind of similar to what you already know how to do. Except you, instead of seeing what you multiply to get C, you have to see what can I multiply to get A times C. Okay, and so what can we multiply to get negative 10? Oh, yeah, that we can add to get 3. So give me some factors of negative 10.
2, 5.
2.
Negative 2, negative 5.
Negative 2 and negative 5. Will that give me a negative 10?
No, I was just saying.
Oh, I see. Okay, so let's say positive 2 and negative 5. Is positive 2 plus negative 5 positive 3?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Oh, it's negative.
So it's going to be negative 2 and, oh, I don't know what, and positive 5. That's the one that adds to get 3. Okay, so I found my two terms, or I found my two factors, because negative 2 times 5 gives me negative 10, or AC, and it adds to get 3. So then, step 2 is you do the table. Step 3, you're going to take the original polynomial, and you're going to, you're a horrible person. You're going to split, the middle term using step 2. So what I mean by that, you're going to take this 3x and you're going to divide it up into negative 2x plus 5x. So the negative 2 and the 5 that you got a minute ago, you're going to use them to divide up that middle term. So now you've got the rest of the polynomial. And what do you think we're going to do? We deliberately turned 3 terms into 4 terms.
To combine them.
No, we just uncombined them. Which one do we use if we have 4? There's got to be a reason we like. Now you're going to factor it by grouping. Now that you've got 4 terms, now what did I do factoring by grouping? Was it pink? Yeah. So now you're going to factor by grouping.
How was your test today? Did you do good?
Okay, so now I've got my 2 groups, right? What's my GCF that I'm going to factor out of that group? 2x, right? What's my GCF that I'm going to factor out of that group? 5. So remember now factoring by grouping. So I factored out a GCF, which means I've got 2x. And then what's going to be left over? 2x squared. If you factor out a 2x, that's going to leave you with just 1x, right? 2x divided by 2x is just going to give you a 1. Factor out the 5, which will leave you with an x minus 1. How do we know we're on the right track?
Because there's an x minus 1 and an x.
I got an x minus 1. I have them both. So all we're going to do, remember, you factor out that common binomial. We don't have to do any sign flipping or anything like that. And it becomes 2x plus 5. So question number 1, do I have a GCF anymore? Question number 2, do I have more than 4 terms? Question number 2 was, is it quadratic anymore? No, so we are donezo. And that is every single type of factoring you will have to do for the next 2 weeks.
That's too much.